We are here live for episode 36 of the REKAP Room podcast. Wow, I'm stumbling over my words already. I guess this man across from me is making me a little bit nervous. Which
You're doing great.
He's one of the few people that I can say in the industry who's probably is more seasoned and more veteran when it comes to the social media and just general video side of things. But I'm joined today by Tim Brigham with Union Home Mortgage. He's the team lead of the Brigham team at Union Home Mortgage. He's got a long list of accolades that I could go on for quite some time about, but he's a top producing loan officer in the area. He's number 4 at a $28 billion company. He has a whole slew of other cool things that he does. He's the host and producer of Coffees for Closers TV. He's a coach for other loan officers in the industry to help them become top producers like himself. So he's a really, really good person to have on the podcast, not only for, just people who are watching this as consumers, which I'm sure most of you are, but any agents in the industry, any loan officers. So happy to be here with Tim Brigham.
I'm happy to be on, man. Wow,
Yeah.
that was awesome.
Yeah, I tried my best there. I definitely tried my best.
I kind of want to hire you to walk around and introduce me to people. That was cool.
I'll be like the Bruce
The hype
Buffer.
man.
I'll be like Bruce
There you
Buffer,
go.
just your personal Bruce Buffer introducing you everywhere.
Love
So
it.
I've introduced you now. I want to throw it back to you. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Give everybody a little bit of a snippet of who is Tim Brigham, both personally and professionally.
Yeah, thanks. So Tim Brigham, I've been doing mortgages for 23 years now, right? I'm started out my life as a kid from Tucson, right? I grew up poor, didn't really know, we probably should have been on welfare, but we're too proud to do that, right? And didn't really know about any of this world that I'm in now today. I had to kind of figure it all out by myself, right? I came here with everything I owned, as cliche as it is, in a backpack, right? And walking around this big city, looking around going, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Big buildings and the hustle and bustle and just watching people that had purpose, right? Not to say that anybody from Arizona doesn't have purpose. It's just, you can just feel it in Chicago. I instantly fell in love. I mean, I found what I wanted to do and where I wanted to be and surround myself with those types of people that were creators, innovators. I came to Chicago and I realized real quickly that you can be anybody and create something with it, right? Like you can, if you have the drive, all you have to do is get some grit and find your path. You will be successful, right? There are plenty of people here that want to support your dreams, that would love to help you, that, if you're one of us, they pick you up and take you with them. So it's great. I've had some great friends. I've had a great ride. Look, I get into the mortgage business because I was working at Gateway Computers. And that dates me a little bit for anybody.
Yeah, what is Gateway? Because people like me, 25-year-olds, I don't even know if I know what Gateway is.
Oh, hell, here we go. So Gateway Computers was this computer company that was rivaled Best Buy, right? You could either go to Best Buy or you go to Gateway or Dell. And their shtick was cows. I don't know why, but they had cow boxes. And so you would go to it's different now. You typically order everything online. Back then, you would go to a store and a salesperson would walk you through and help you figure out what computer stuff you need. That was me. So it's face-to-face sales, kind of like, again, the world's changed so much, but almost like buying a car or anything else, you've got somebody who walks you through that process. And so
I think we can see the little foreshadowing of how you got into the mortgage business just from that, just a service-based role and helping people from start to finish through the process.
Well, I learned, what business people needed, right? And I was so interested in industry and technology and what their needs were and why they needed that technology. And so I kept telling everybody, I was like, one day I'm going to do a really good job and somebody's going to hire me. Watch. And they all made fun of me. They're like, there's no way. And it happened. A guy named Ross Wolf walked in, young guy, kind of flashy. And this is when cameras first had the ability with a little screen on it where you could see what was on the camera card.
Okay.
Right? So he plugs it in and into a printer and you could actually see, I was like, whoa, oh, wow, this is really cool. He's got pictures of the Super Bowl on it. So I'm clicking through and I went, wait, you went to the Super Bowl? again, I'm a poor kid from Tucson. I
Right.
haven't been to the Super Bowl. He goes, yeah, he goes, my company sent me. I said, okay. What do you do? He's like, well, I'm in the mortgage business. Okay. I probably couldn't even spell mortgage, right? I don't even know. I don't know anything about it. But he goes, you're really good at this. You should come in for an interview. Okay, sure. I remember loading all his equipment into, his truck,
Right.
and he had a nice truck. So this guy's been in the Super Bowl. He's got a nice truck. Maybe he does something cool.
Yeah.
Sure. I go in for the interview, and my beginning to the mortgage business, this is real. They put a stack of leads on a desk. It wasn't even an interview. Put a stack of leads on the desk and a key. And he goes, call those. If you get somebody to say yes, keep the key. If you don't, leave the key on the desk. It was nice meeting you. And he walks into his office. The office is dead quiet. Right? The office is dead quiet. And I'm, okay. I grab the first lead and I put it down.
And the key is what?
The key to the office. So you can get into the office. So I take the first lead and I look down and I start dialing the phone. All of a sudden the office erupts. I find out later that they were waiting to see if I was going to leave. Right? Because the mortgage business is not easy.
Yeah.
It takes grit to call somebody and have a conversation. And back then, subprime days, man, it was very different. Right? So
why is it so difficult for people to pick up the phone and dial? Like, why do you think that is? Because I know in our side of the business, it's the same thing. Like, I try and tell people, I'm like, the difference between the people who make it and the people who don't is so small. It's literally just the people who have apologize, but have the balls to get up and pick up the phone and make the call. The difficult call, the easy call, whatever, make the call when they need to. Why do you think it's so difficult for people to do that?
I find when I coach students on this, right, is that it really just comes down to scripting. I think that's such a negative connotation to it, right? People hear the word scripts and they're like, oh man, I don't want to read off a teleprompter. A script is just a planned conversation. That's all it is. It's not, you need to have some bullet points. You need to have something that you're going to discuss. And I don't know where it comes from, but in your psychology or in your brain or something, you just get apprehensive on, what's going to happen now?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't want to bug them.
I don't want to bother them. They're going to say this, and then this is going to happen.
I don't want to come off as salesy, all those common objections.
And especially when things get rough, right? It's a hard conversation. I think a lot of people hide from those. I don't. I'm known for ripping the Band-Aid right off.
Yeah, that's true. I think anybody, if you've even listened to this point, you can kind of get a pretty good idea of Tim's personality. He's a straight shooter. He's not going to sugarcoat it.
Nope.
But I think that is so refreshing, especially in today's day and age where everybody wants to, because what ends up happening is if you try and sugarcoat it, and I've done this, especially as a newer agent in the business when I was first starting, it's like you walk on eggshells. You don't want to offend anybody. You feel like you want to get the client. You don't really have a whole lot of confidence. You do everything you can, and that ends up backfiring. Whereas if you just shoot them straight, you tell them what it is, maybe it stings, but it's like ripping off a Band-Aid, and it's better off for it.
I think what Chicago taught me is everybody has a guy, right? And you got to earn that right. Chicago's whole thing is, I got a guy for this, I got a guy for that. Like, who do you call for this thing? My job is to become your guy, right? And how I earn that right is being genuine, right? I don't want to be salesy. I don't ever want you to think I'm selling you, because, and how I do it and how I approach it is I just tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I wouldn't do that. You can, personally, my personal opinion is I wouldn't make this decision because it doesn't meet your goals. And here's why, right? Or we're going to have a rough conversation. Something bad did happen, but we're going to get through it together, right? There's a way to approach these things that you can be respectful and that people want to come back to you because they know if they call you, you're going to be honest with them.
Yeah.
You're going to tell them the truth and you're going to look out for them. When you hide those details or you try and sell it too much or it doesn't seem genuine, right? People feel taken advantage of, right? I may come off as abrupt or direct, right? But you'll never have to guess where I'm coming from. It's always for you. You're my client. I want to make sure you understand that I got your back. Recently, I actually said something to somebody one time. We were having there was a negotiation, right? It was a rough conversation. There was a lot going on. And they're like, wow, like you're really going after this. And I go, yeah, this is why you hired me. Like, yeah. And they started laughing. They go, watch what happens when I call the seller side. They're like, I love it. Can I listen? I'm like, no, but I'm going to let you know what happens. Right. Because I think that we have to be two fists up for our clients consistently. I think however you do it, you got to fight. You got to earn that right to become the guy or the girl in there, being direct with the conversation.
Yep.
Yeah.
So for the people who don't know, just from a very class 101 standpoint, what is your job? Like what? Because I'm going to be honest, when I first got in the industry, I didn't know what a loan officer did. I just didn't. I knew what a real estate agent did because I had a few friends and
Sure.
they sell houses. It's very client facing. You see them out, they're on social media, whatever. Mortgage, like I'm like, oh, you just go to a bank for that. You just go to a bank and they give you a loan and a bunch of paperwork. But like, what is your job?
So I love that you brought that up too, is that a lot of people misunderstand that the bank isn't the only option. My challenge to you, if you're listening to this, is that why do you go to the bank? Checking, savings, that's their main book of business. They happen to do mortgages. But if you actually do a little bit of research, banks love the revenue that mortgages create, but they actually don't like the product. And the reason that is that it puts their assets at risk. So what do I do for a living? I do mortgages. I write mortgages that get delivered directly to Fannie, Freddie, or whatever investor, whatever's necessary. But my job is to listen to the client, figure out what their long and short-term goals are, and advise them on how to proceed, right? There isn't one plain vanilla mortgage that's appropriate for everyone. If you're only planning on being in this house for 3 years, we should be looking at it from a 3-year point of view. Now, also, what's happening in the market? See, it's my job to understand what's coming. Right now, I don't know if as of this taping, the political environment is a little interesting. The Fed is being very vocal. There's all these really
Government shutdown.
Government shutdown. We just tied the record as of today for the longest government shutdown that's ever happened.
History, yeah.
If it goes until tomorrow, this will be officially the longest one in U.S. history. What does that mean, right? And with the internet, it loves to spill out all this information.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily accurate. Listen, I don't care. Diana Olick, I don't know why she still has a job. The things that she says on CNBC about mortgages, 99% of the time are completely inaccurate.
Yep.
And it's fear-mongering, right? Is now a good time to buy from a mortgage perspective? I've got those answers.
Right.
What does my plan look like in the future? Most people don't keep their first mortgage. In fact, nobody does. You end up refinancing at some point. What does that mean? My job is to analyze everything for you, put myself in your shoes, and figure out what advice can I give you on how to proceed in buying your next place.
And that right there is, I think, a big reason why I know I send my clients to you and why clients continue to have such a good, especially once the deal is done or during the deal, it's like, wow, this guy really knows his stuff. He really has my best interest at heart. Because instead of, and I always said this too when I have my guys on my team, it's the same kind of mindset that I have with them. It's like, we're not selling anything.
No.
Okay. Get that out of your head.
Mm-hmm.
Because the house is, the product is going to sell itself. Everybody needs a place to live. Most people that are coming, they need a mortgage for whatever. That's already done.
Mm-hmm.
They a lot of times they made up their mind that they're going to do it. Now the question is, how do we educate them to do it in the most beneficial way that's going to get them closer to their goals and have their best interest at heart, period. You're an advisor before you are a salesperson.
I like to look at it that, how am I going to make you money, right? You look at it from an investment perspective of appreciation and, the neighborhoods and
right.
resale value. I look at it from perspective from, what is the right product? What's the right way to proceed? How much money should you put down? Where are you at right now in your life? See, the natural progression is that you go to high school, you graduate, then go to college, then get a job, then get married, then have kids. Somewhere in there, you're buying a house.
Mm-hmm.
You could be right out of high school, starting your first job, entering college. You could be, somebody who is, 50 years old that's got kids that are grown, right? those two people need two different products.
Right.
There's different reasons as to why they should do X, Y, or Z. You're not going to get this from the internet. You're going to get a plain vanilla, what's in it for the person who you're reading their blog, right, response, versus on the phone with you or I, we go, okay, so this is how much money you have. This is what you've got going on. This is what I would suggest based off of what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, AI will never replace that.
No.
You know, your click button, get mortgage type places will never replace that level of advice because it'll cost you tens of thousands of dollars in some cases, sometimes hundreds.
It's so nuanced,
100%.
and personalized that like you can't replicate that, you know? So a lot of our clients, as you know, we have a lot of people that have bought, sold, whatever, but a lot of our clients are younger. A lot of them are renters. What's your take on 2025 going into 2026, rent versus buy? What is your honest opinion on just that whole subject in general? When it makes sense? You know, do you think it makes sense? Does renting still have a place? Does it make sense at all? What's your take on that from your side of things?
Again, very specific to the person, right? So if you're listening to this and the first step is you got to ring the phone. You got to call us, right? And have a conversation because I don't know where you're at in life. That being said, if that you have the ability to purchase, I don't know why you wouldn't right now. I think you're nuts. And what I've been saying to people on a regular basis is you're going to look like a genius here very shortly. I just interviewed Dan Habib, who's one of the top economists in the mortgage space. This is who Congress listens to. This is who the president listens to. This guy knows his stuff. And he basically broke it down that the math and the data tell us that what's coming next year will be a reaction to rates coming down, right? So you'll have a bunch of people that are on the fence right now going, you know, should I buy? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
When mortgage rates plummet, that's not the time you want to buy. You want to have bought prior because when mortgage rates come down, prices go up, right? More people in market looking to purchase, they're all going to fight for that same property. So that causes purchase prices to go up. That's permanent. A lot of people don't know that if you're waiting for rates to come down, 99% of the time, if that price goes up, even with the lower interest rate, your monthly's higher. And we can't ever fix the fact that you bought that place for 20 grand more. That's permanent once that goes through. So even if we get you a lower rate later to lower the payment, that 20 grand is still baked in. If you were to buy a place now, we can always revisit it, right? Some of my clients, 6 months from now, they're looking at a refi. That means they're going to make 4 payments on it, right? That's a big deal. You look at it from that perspective, you're going to revisit this thing and go, you know what? Actually, buy now, refinance it later. Eventually, we'll get this thing down to even a lower payment, and you got the better purchase price. Now, that's simplistic. When we talk to clients, sometimes from a tax perspective, again, legally, I can't give tax advice, but talking to your accountant, if you're a W-2 employee and you have no kids and you're not married, and then you have no write-offs, you have nothing. So historically, this is the biggest write-off that most people have, is the interest that they pay on their mortgage. See, mortgage has such a bad connotation to it. I don't even like calling it a mortgage. I got a buddy who calls it a savings account.
Yeah.
Right? Because every time you pay into that mortgage, you're making a deposit. Part of that is principal. You're paying that thing down. So you're stocking away money that you get to cash in later. Because eventually when you sell that place, you get paid back. Right? Now, the interest portion of this, you're going to get what's called a 1098 at the end of the year. You get to write that off. Right? In most cases, depending on what your financial situation is, again, talk to an accountant. I have to legally say that. But the amount of money that you typically get back in comparison, if that applies, it's staggering.
Right.
So not only are you getting money that you're paying into this mortgage, it's dropping it down. Rent, you're not getting anything back. You're paying somebody else's mortgage, right? No write-offs there. You're getting write-offs on your taxes and then appreciation. Because if cost of money goes down, rates drop, people fight for houses like we just said, that means your house that you bought goes up in value. You and I have done deals that have gone up staggering amounts since they purchased.
We've had deals that have gone up not even gone up in value. We've gotten them for under market value from day one. where they've literally made $10,000
day one. Right.
Like they've walked out of there. And when they get some of them we've negotiated a closing cost credit. And if you combine the closing cost credit with how much money they've baked in equity from day one, just by getting a really good deal, I mean, they've essentially gotten paid to buy the house in a way. I mean, they've got money. I mean, it's kind of one of those things that I think the biggest objection that people have is that they just don't understand it. They just don't, nobody's taught them this. The biggest problem is that our schooling system does, and I think anybody can agree with this, does an abysmal job of teaching you real life applicable skills, things like personal finance, things like that fall under that category. One of those biggest things is buying a home, buying real estate. Everybody that I talk to, it's funny because when I'm in the industry, like I hate talking about my job all the time or I love it, but I don't like it because I don't ever want it to feel like, oh, I'm always talking about me. So my one rule now is that I will not bring up anything real estate related unless somebody brings it up to me first. And without failure, every single time, no matter where I am, one of the first things that people want to talk about with me is real estate. Because just naturally, it's an interesting thing to talk about. It's involved in everybody's life. Everybody needs a place to live, So by having these conversations and getting in front of people, they naturally are interested in it. They just don't know where to start.
So I think you raised some great points, right? And I think there's some common misconceptions. I think when you ask me why shouldn't, or what's my opinion on rent versus buy, I think when you scale that back, there's usually some really common misunderstandings. The objections are, one, I don't qualify. I don't think I qualify for a mortgage. Well, that one's easy. You call me and we figure it out, right?
And you'd be shocked. I mean, a lot of times I have people come out and they're like, oh my gosh, I can qualify up to this amount and not necessarily have to spend it. But
there are grant programs for down payment. I can do 100% finance. I mean, there's so many different things. Whatever the objection that you have, talking to me is like talking to a doctor, right? I have no idea. You don't either. I got to look at it, right? They have no clue. They can give you advice over the phone, but until we look at it, you may not know there's something out there for you that it's one phone call and you go, oh, well, that changes everything. This isn't as bad as I thought it was. Worst case thing that happens, because talking to me is free, right? Worst case thing is you get confirmation of what we need to do or what the next steps are so that you can buy a place in the future.
Right.
The other one is they just misunderstand it. They misunderstand how they think it's going to be hard. They think it's going to be stressful. And it's just so much easier to just renew the lease. Look, I can tell you the feedback that I get on a pretty consistent basis. I pride myself in my process. We make it really easy. Case in point, I sometimes don't even need the client. You just got to introduce me to your accountant and I'll go handle everything for you. Right? I just need to know what your goals are and get the information, and my team will jump in and do everything for you and make it really, really, really easy. We also have everything electronic. Mm-hmm. So, you can focus on purchasing the place or finding the place that you love and not feel like this was, getting a colonoscopy. You know? I mean, it's very, very easy. The other thing is fear. Right? A lot of people are really concerned about the housing market. Listen, does anybody know exactly? No one does. But when I look at the data, I can tell you this. I'm a loan officer who's gone through 2008. I know exactly what a meltdown looks like. I know what it smells like. I was standing at Countrywide when it fell, right? I know when we're standing on house cards. This is different. We don't have a bunch of people with that weren't able to get approved for a Discover card buying houses at 100% financing. That's what the subprime meltdown was. We don't have inventory. We got an inventory crisis. I mean, nobody's selling. They all want to keep their properties, right? It's still a seller's market in Chicago.
Sure, yeah.
Ignore the news. When you're looking at a report and they start talking about, well, houses are staying longer in the market, what market are they talking about?
Mm-hmm. And that's why I always, you have to call. If you want a mortgage question, you have to call Tim. You want a real estate specific question about the market, you have to call me, because these people get their information and it's like, wow, the market's slowing down. Yeah, if you have a house in Florida, the market's slowed down. If you have a single family home in Austin, Texas, the market's slowed down. You have a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo in Lincoln Park. You have a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom townhouse in Schaumburg.
Last 30 seconds.
it's gone.
Yep.
You don't even have time to look at it.
I think a lot of people misunderstand that COVID was the weirdest psychological experiment that we're still kind of dealing with, right?
Yeah.
Well, all these people were like, oh, I can work from home. I'm going to go start a hobby farm in Nebraska. I was like, okay, cool. But you're work in Chicago. Yeah, but I work from home. Well, we figured out, and I'm saying industry figured out, that productivity fell by quite a bit when people started working from home. So they started calling everybody back. So yeah, your hobby farm that you started, there isn't a rapid, everybody's not jumping out to buy this property. So yes, your property's going to sit for a little bit. And yes, they may have to drop the price because they made that decision. That's not happening in Chicago. There are plenty of buyers out here. There are plenty of people out looking. And when rates go down and everybody realize, oh, wow, there's no crash coming, you're going to be on the wrong side of it. It's just the truth. Now, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy then either. It means that you need to get your stuff together. We got to figure this out. You got to have the conversation. This isn't a commercial to call me. I'm saying, listen, if you're sitting on the fence right now and trying to understand, what's going on, you need to educate yourself with somebody outside of Google, right? Get with somebody who's on the front lines, right? This is real. We got data points that can show you exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
One of my favorites. Did you know that house starts fell off a cliff? Do you know what a house start is?
I have no clue what a house start is.
Okay.
So
I didn't either. I didn't either. Dan taught me this. Okay. I actually paused the interview and I go, Dan, can you go back? That graph you just showed on house starts.
And this is Dan Habib.
Yeah, Dan Habib, right? When it fell off a cliff, what is a house start? And he goes, oh, yeah, all right, let me explain it. He goes, so you got a mom and a dad. They have 2 kids. They live in a house. Kids go to college. A house start is when the son goes and buys a house or the daughter goes and buys a house. You now have 2 more house starts because those people need to move on. That's not happening anymore. And he goes back to the graph. In 2022, it did this. And so everyone is now living at home or combining households from an income perspective or out of a fear perspective, or just not wanting to buy a property just because of it's easier to live at home and save money.
Yeah.
And they're stockpiling cash.
And I think living at home is because I could tell you because I do it and have done it, but it's a great thing if you're using it as a stepping stone to get you to purchase. It's a horrible idea if you're using it to stay at home and play video games in your mom's basement and, act out of fear and just hide away from everything because it's too scary.
Amen. Look, people bought Bitcoin at $1. Okay. That's real. I'm not saying housing's Bitcoin, but you want to buy when the masses are afraid of something. This is a Warren Buffett quote, right? You buy when people are afraid. You don't buy when everybody's happy and excited. When you bought during COVID, guess what? You were late. Because if you were towards the end of COVID, prices had already jumped. If you bought right before or you bought in the beginnings, you got a deal. Arguably, there's deals out there right now that you can find. Don't expect to buy something $100,000 under market, but you can buy something at a reasonable price. Maybe it is market value. And when rates drop, the thing takes off, right? And you're going long on this. Remember, you don't lose or win until you sell. That's another piece. If you look at the graph of appreciation, it's done nothing but this in U.S. history. Nothing but this. Blew my mind in 2008. I thought we were going to see this. It's a blip when it comes to home prices. It does nothing but do this since we started tracking, since the beginning. So you buy a place. Values adjust. Great. You don't lose anything unless you panic and you sell it. You just live there and continue to take the benefits of owning a house, right? Again, the fear is the worst one. Don't be afraid. Get educated.
And there's really never going to be a quote unquote perfect time. There's always going to be a reason to do something and always going to be a reason not to do something. If it's not COVID, it's it's the economy. If it's not something, the jobs, it's the interest rate. If it's not the interest rate, it's my grandma told me it's not good. Whatever. There's always a reason not to do something. But the analogy, my dad actually, and I'm thankful because I got educated in this and had an interest in it because I come from a family that has talked about money. We were not shy about talking. It didn't run our lives, but my dad implemented financial literacy in all of his kids at a relatively young age.
Love it.
And, when he was saying about my brother just bought his first house in Minneapolis and now I'm buying a condo and there's all these different things going on. He's like, you just got to get in. because it's like a treadmill. And if you don't get on the treadmill and you don't it'll throw you right off. So the treadmill ain't stopping. There's never going to be a perfect time. You're never going to get that treadmill to just come to a standstill, get on, turn the miles per hour up, and then start running. You just have to accept the fact that you got to get on while it's moving and make it work.
100%. If you're waiting for somebody to tell you the right time to buy, and you're listening up to this point, it's now. I'm telling you it's right now. And that's not self-serving. I'm not doing that because I want to do your mortgage. I'm saying that if you want actual education, real advice, is that what are you waiting for? It's never going to be the opportune, like, okay, now I'm, this epiphany just went off and like, there's always going to be a thing
That's
in the
life
news
in general,
or
too.
Whatever. Right.
Yeah. I forget what it was. It's like a saying. The best times to plant a tree were 10 years ago and today. The two best times to plant a tree were 10 years ago and today. And I think that reigns true for so many things. Nothing in life if it was that easy and everything was painted for a perfect picture in the future and you knew exactly, that's not life.
Yep.
Life is not like that. So I think this is a great segue to kind of roll into a little bit about what we're going to be rolling out here probably in the next few weeks, next month. We're calling it REKAP University, coined obviously through our team name, the REKAP Group. We're going to be running it alongside Tim, alongside my attorney partner, Dominique. And probably throughout the process, it's going to be an evolution. We're going to have other people on it. I'm sure I'll have my accountant on it at some point. Basically, what we're going to be launching is that go-to place for people who are like, I just want to learn. I just need to have that conversation. I just need to get educated. Maybe they don't want to make that phone call. Maybe it's a little intimidating, whatever. This is going to be in a group setting, starting off online. We may eventually do it in person, but it's just going to be a place that's like a total open, free zone to just come and learn.
Yeah.
Nobody's taught you this. The tagline of this whole thing is REKAP University, teaching you what school forgot. Because I found the gap in people who don't buy and the people who do, that whole gray area is just education. Mm-hmm. It's just a gap in education of not understanding, not knowing what to do. And this is going to fill that gap and teach you exactly what school forgot to teach you. Yep. So I'm excited to hear what your lens is on that and what you think is going to be the most impactful stuff that comes out of it.
Listen, I love educating. I absolutely love it. It's my passion. I love coaching. I love educating. I may come across as abrasive, but that's only when we're in a deal, right? Like that's only when I got to fight on your behalf, right? Or have an argument for your benefit, right? That's my job. When it comes to financial literacy, when it comes to learning about mortgages, when it comes to asking the hard questions, I absolutely love the aha moment. I love helping people work these things out. And, come spend some time with us. And REKAP University is going to be amazing to where we'll give you all the resources. I look forward to putting all the data points, everything you need, common misconceptions, anything you need so that you've got the resources at your disposal should you need them. Right. And I think it's going to be a very powerful thing. I love this idea that you came up with because I think that people need it. I think there's so much misinformation out there. Like once a week, I get sent some article from somebody, some Yahoo, middle of nowhere, who it's like, that's factually inaccurate. Like, why would you ever put this out in the space? And unfortunately, somebody's out there reading this and making financial decisions with the most important thing they're ever going to do based off your words. That's horrible.
Yeah.
Right? It drives me nuts.
It makes me so upset. And I think one of the big things too that I hear from people is that, there's always this argument online. Well, you should rent because you could take the money and you could put it in the market and it could outperform it, but yada, yada, yada. Here's the reality, okay? Yes. If you take the money that you save by renting and you take that money, divvy down, put in the S&P 500, it'll outperform. In a perfect world, yes. We're talking about human beings, okay? Mm-hmm. Human beings, when they have extra money to spend, we know that they don't go and invest the money in things that are going to make them money. The average human being goes and takes that money and goes and buys a car. They go on vacation. Not saying there's anything wrong with that, but they do not invest that money. They spend it on stupid SHIT, right?
Yeah.
That's why buying a home is so powerful. Hook, line, and sinker. You need a place to live, period. Shelter's a need. I didn't come up with that. It's one of the basic needs, right? Need a place to live. Now your options are either renting or buying. Renting, every single dollar that you spend, you're never going to see a return on that. Yeah, sure, you get the utility of housing, but you're never going to see anything on that. Housing, you do. Now, if you compare housing to renting or buying to renting, I think I would take my odds at the buying over the renting. Now, if you compare buying to something else, sure, that's fine, but that's an apples to oranges comparison. We have to compare two things at equal, value, at equal things, both shelter, both roofs over your head. What are your two options? I know which one I'm going to choose if, I can afford to do so.
I mean, it's also proven too, there's a reason why mortgages and insurance policies are more expensive for investment properties. It's because renters don't take care of their property the same way an owner does. There's a massive difference, and I grew up in apartments my whole life. We didn't own a property until way later. But I didn't understand that when you grow up in an apartment building, there's no knock to it. It's just there's a difference between living in a neighborhood or owning your place. You take better care of it. You take better care of the landscaping. You take better care of the property. You care about it because it's yours. You care about your neighbors, right? Whereas renting, it always feels temporary.
Mm-hmm.
You're not there. You're not planted. And even if you're planning on leaving and going somewhere else, you still feel it's a different, most people don't know that you could purchase a property. And even if you're planning on not staying there, right? You could purchase a property. And when you're ready to go to your next place, you could convert it to an investment. See, you can do a simple Google search and look up what is the fastest way to generational wealth. You know what you find? Every single person who's wealthy has made their fortune with real estate. Every single one of them. Now, you have your Bitcoins and all, but what do you think those people do with their money? They buy real estate. It's the fabric of our entire economy. Everything is tied to housing. Think about it. You buy a house, you create 60 jobs, right? You got a title company, all the people that work there, the mortgage company, all the people that work, all of it. It's all tied into everything. Now, you buy a place, you turn it in, you live there for a bit, you take the tax write-offs, and you're like, okay, I'm not going to stay here. You turn it into an investment property, and you move. You buy your next place. Well, I'm not going to stay there either. Well, guess what? You could turn that into investment property and keep it moving. Well, Tim, I don't have all the money to do that. Here's the thing. If you buy a place, you're going to build equity. Because guess what? Every time you make that payment, the balance is going down. Appreciation, right? Maybe you tap into the equity to buy the next place. See, there's a cycle to this that you can create, and it all starts with that first one. If you're waiting to stockpile all your money to buy your next place, it's going to turn into you just buying the one, and you're like, okay, it was good. But that's not generational wealth per se. It could have been, it is if you were to pass that asset on. But what if each time, instead of you wasting your money on rent, you had the ability to start creating a portfolio?
Yeah.
Right? And it doesn't have to be 150 properties. It could be 2.
It could be 3. It could be 2. It could be 4, whatever it is. But, it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a large portfolio to change your family and your family's futures.
I got a guy. I will argue that he is the happiest person I've ever met. I got a guy shows up at my office. He's a high school teacher. He makes $65,000 a year. Okay. Nothing else. There's no other rich family, no anything. He was on his 19th property. He quit his job. His properties pay him more money than he needs. He doesn't have to do anything. He can do whatever he wants any given day, and his properties are being managed and maintained. Now, does that take time and effort? Of course it does.
Everything in life does.
My point is the guy made $65,000 a year, and he figured it out because he got the right people around him to help him with this, and he made a couple moves. And then he made a couple more moves, and then a couple more moves. And now, if he wants to go on vacation, he goes on vacation. If he wants to go buy the thing at the store, he buys the thing at the store. He doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't work for anybody anymore. All his tenants, the people paying rent, are paying all his bills, right? And it's the craziest conversation because he's so happy that it could happen for him because he didn't think it was possible, but he made a couple moves and it worked. So if you're listening to this thinking that like, oh, well, that can't be me, I'm telling you Yes, it can. Because if that guy can do it, we can totally figure this out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's such that story alone is just like, and that's not anomalous. There's thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people like that have just made a few. I think the biggest hang up with it is that we live in such an instant gratification era with Bitcoin and NFTs and this and that. Real estate's not that. If you want to go and you want to say, all right, tomorrow I'm going to turn around and make $1 million, and it's not that. But if you want a long-term proven strategy that is, I don't like using the word guaranteed, but guaranteed way to build long-term wealth for your family, your family's family, so on and so forth, real estate has proven to be that asset class. It will continue to be that asset class. And the only thing stopping you is the knowledge.
Think about it, right? People love to talk about how Bitcoin ends at some point. Eventually we run out of supply, right? I love when people talk about this. You know what also runs out of supply? Land. It's one thing we can't make more of. We literally can't make more land unless we go to Mars, right? Here's the deal. If you wait and you're waiting for this $1 million opportunity, the Bitcoin, the whatever it is that you're thinking is going to be your goal, but you're renting this entire time, or you're not pulling the trigger on getting real estate, why? What do you think is going to happen later when you hit whatever it is that you're planning on doing? The same property that you're looking at was going up the whole time. Cost of money went up that entire time. It's costing you more money than you could possibly imagine to not have the conversation.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I think that's great. So kind of getting towards the end here, just some finishing thoughts. Tell everybody a little bit about your charity work that you do. I'd love to hear about that. And outside of just a professional level, this is something that you do. I guess men's both personal and professional, but super cool and unique.
So in full disclosure, I haven't done it in a few years just because of COVID, but I still have it. And it's been called quite a few times recently, including this conversation, where we've decided we're going to start it back up next year, which I have I've done charity work where we started a foundation of visiting children that are facing serious illnesses. And I throw on a Batman suit. I have a custom made $5,000 Batman suit that I throw on, and I go in and I act like a dad in a Batman suit, if that makes sense. My job is to go in there and make them laugh, make them smile, right? And my shtick is I'll go in and I'm like, you got a phone? And they're like, I get a phone. And I go, cool, because nobody's going to believe you. I take a picture and I hand them the phone back. We give them some toys and I leave. And it happens every single time. You hear, what was that? See, my job's not to stand in the room and be weird as a guy in a rubber suit. My job's to treat a child who has to deal with really adult things on the regular. Have them be a regular little kid for 2-3 minutes, right? It's powerful stuff because they're dealing with getting poked and prodded and all this. Some of these kids are in isolation. I mean, I've taken people with me who've asked to come on these visits, and every single time they're like, that changed my life. I didn't even know that existed. Nurses in these local hospitals, their Tuesday is the worst day of your life, right? It's just, this is what they do for a living. They deal with, stuff that just the image of it is rough. So you have to have real courage. You have to go in there and with the right mindset of what you're walking into. But it changed my life. It's the most powerful thing I've ever done, and I'm honored to walk and do it. We even a few years ago, I did an event where we had Bears players showing up and politicians and all that. I mean, it was a big giant event at a rooftop. It was fun, and we were raising funding. And my mind was bothering me because we always raised funding for toys, right? And we'd fill hospitals with toys and equipment and whatever their needs were. I was like, we're having this cool of an event. I can't just do toys. This is too powerful. We got a bunch of change makers in this room. So we shot a video, and I just said it. It was on my heart. I said, the purpose of tonight's event is I would like to start raising funding to purchase a home and renovate it to give it to one of the families that I visit in the hospital. And I don't care if I have to do 15 events or 100 events. Well, however many I got to do until we raise enough funding to do this. But that's what I want to do. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. It was wild. We showed this video. And 3 months later, we had a house donated to the charity. I raised over $100,000 to renovate this place, gutted it down to the studs, did absolutely everything we could. And we ended up giving that property away to a local nurse, young lady, who had cancer, and she worked in the oncology department at Christ Hospital, and she used her ailment to help other little kids, let them know they were going to be okay. Oof. What a powerful, powerful, powerful person. I mean, she's motivating just listening to her. And I hope she doesn't mind I share this, but she put it on TikTok, so it is what it is. I have her contact on my phone, and I let her live her life. Like I'm not here to follow up, but it's already done, right? We gave her the house, and TikTok reads your phone. The video came up of her, and she just had her first baby. In the house. Come on. Like, and that's when she talked about it. She was like, "That's what the house would mean to her. She's always wanted to be a mom." So, I think real estate is one of those. That's what it is. It's a powerful tool, right? Not only can you get great contacts, but the amount of things you can do once you make those decisions.
Yeah. No, that is really powerful stuff, and I think it speaks to something bigger than just what we do. You know, what we do is awesome. We love it. It's our passion, but pales in comparison to what else is out there, and also shows the power of what homes and what real estate means to people. It's more than just an investment. It's more than just putting your money in a stock market and watching your thing grow. It's real life emotions, real life people doing real life things.
We have a rule on the team. You can't call it a deal. Don't walk in my house and call it a deal. It's not a deal. It's somebody's house. That's where that person puts their kids to sleep. So don't call it a deal. What's happening with this family, right? It's really special. I think you nailed it.
Yeah. Well, Tim, this was great. This was awesome.
Thanks for having me on.
I mean, having you on is a real treat. Somebody who is probably not used to getting interviewed. Usually you are being the interviewee. Go check out Tim. Coffee is for Closers TV. You could find him. We'll put it in the bio and tag him in all of our social media posts. But he does some really cool stuff on his show, interviewing top producing real estate agents, people in the business world in general. He's had agents on there like Matt Laracy, Alex Stoikov, some of the big hitters in our industry, people that I look up to. Matt Laracy, I know he's probably not watching this, but that guy is like my idol. I look up to that
guy. That's
great.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with him like 20 minutes ago, met him for the first time a few weeks ago in front of his office. I'm like, man, I want to be like that guy. I'm like a fan. I was like a fangirl. He doesn't know. He probably saw it. I was just like all giddy in front of his office, but I was like, this guy, there's something about him. So
I can't wait till he sees us. I'm going to make sure he does. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his. So, well, Tim, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for coming here and REKAP University coming soon. So we're going to be releasing more information about that. And
love it.
Excited to pump it out.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.